It's such an honor today to have at our forum the National Taxpayer Advocate, Olson, and our senator and our alum, Senator Ben Cardin. So thank you especially for the two of you coming today. Most people don't understand the important role that the Taxpayer Advocate plays in ensuring a just and equitable tax system. She is really the representative of the taxpayers. She and her office assist taxpayers when they have problems, but even more importantly, she's charged with monitoring the tax system and suggesting improvements for all of us. In a sense, she works for us. Ms. Olson is a longtime national taxpayer advocate within the IRS. She's an independent ombudsman and the only IRS employee allowed to propose legislation to Congress, and one of the most respected tax professionals in the country. In 2015, in her annual report to Congress, she urged that the IRS conduct a series of public forums to gather information before adopting a 5-year plan to create an online taxpayer accounts and consultations that would substantially reduce the number of telephone calls and visits the IRS receives from taxpayers. And her call for public forums is part of the reason we're here today.
We were able to pass a Modernization Act that tried to give the IRS the tools they need in order to be a consumer-friendly organization, be able to answer the questions of the taxpayers. And one of the major recommendations that came out of that legislation was Nina's position, that we had one person who, in one office, who would be there to advocate on behalf of the taxpayer and look at how we can make the system friendlier to the taxpayer. And yes, some of that is administrative, no question. I'm sure we're going to get to a lot of the administrative burdens that are created and how we can make that work better, the 100 million calls that the IRS gets every year, the 5 million visits they get every year, how they respond, the wait time, whether you can do this online or whether you have to have the face-to-face contact. All that's going to be very important, and that's going to be, I think, the major thrust of today's activities. But don't blame the IRS for what Congress should be doing, okay? We've given them a very complicated tax code, and every year we give them more and more responsibilities. Give them the responsibilities for the Affordable Care Act. We give them responsibilities for an earned income tax credit, which is well-intended, but not that simple in order to make sure that the people who need the help get the help, and those who shouldn't don't. And I think our numbers today are about 20% who are not getting the type of help. And part of it is the way that program has been configured. We want the IRS to be able to get refunds quickly, but that can encourage identity theft. And how we handling that. And then, which is always amazing, is, of course, we are the appropriators, Congress, not the IRS. We give them the tools, the financial tools. And every year, in real dollars, we've seen the IRS budget cut, even though our budget analysts tell us that if we gave them more money, we actually would bring in more money for our revenue. So it's been counterintuitive to the function of the IRS, but it reflects an attitude by many of my colleagues that they really don't want the IRS to be as aggressive as maybe some of us would like to see.
Some of what we're trying to do in this public forum is to hear from taxpayers and their representatives to make the case to Congress, the appropriators, that if you really want an effective tax system and you want high compliance, this is what people need from the IRS in order to be able to comply with this very complex tax code. And that would make the case in real stories from your constituents about the need for greater appropriation and where you might want to allocate those resources.